We will like to look at this very interesting, fascinating article published in Harvard Business Review earlier this year in the issue January, February 2021. And the article is the title is The Rules of Co-opetition. Co-opetition, the rules of co-opetition. What are the rules or considerations we need to think about when we are maybe reflecting on the idea of co-opt with other companies, etc. So what would be co-opetition? What is co-opetition? Some of you might have heard the term. In simple words, it is cooperation. So co is coming from cooperation and opetition is coming from competition. So it is essentially cooperation between competition. So the companies which would be competing in the real world, in the real life, they would be competing. So what would be some of the rules or guidelines if they would have to cooperate? So cooperating with your competition. So please spend some time reflecting on this, on the title. Like, you might want to think that why companies would want to cooperate or exchange ideas or help out, exchange knowledge with their competition, because we understand that competition is competition. We need to compete with our competition, not cooperate. That is how we understand the term competition. But in business management, and as you will grow your business and take it into international markets, you would more and more realize that no matter how big the company is, it is in the advantage of that company to cooperate with the other entities, or even though they are their competition. So that is one way to grow themselves. That is one way they can put their efforts in the right direction, instead of maybe getting into the puzzle of repeating efforts, like you are doing something and your competition is doing the same type of thing, and then when the product or service is launched in the market, then there can be many problems in that. And as I'm talking about it, please reflect on this, what we are trying to think about together. Co-opetition. Are you familiar with any companies locally or internationally which in some way, even if it is a small way, they cooperate with their competition, something like that? So you might want to, for example, think about big international businesses. For example, you can think about Amazon, how Amazon is able to grow and grow and grow and grow. What are some of the reasons? Is it that they are doing all the things on their own, or they are taking services from other people who could be in the long run, if not in the short run, can be their competition? Um, other examples, we are going to talk about some of them. I hope you are already familiar with. Even if you are not, nothing to really worry about. Uh, so, for example, Samsung and Apple. This article is going to talk about that company also. Uh, are you familiar that Samsung and Apple, which are of course uh, competition of each other, they compete with each other in different markets. They also, on a very big scale, they also cooperate with each other. Yeah. But essentially, why I chose this article is to reflect on that, you know, on all of this, the mindset behind all of this. That what type of mindset will enable some type of cooperation, that will the cooperating spirit in yourself, even when you are competing with someone, how we can cooperate together so that the so that both parties gain from that, creating win-win type of situations from that. And during as we discuss this article in next 1 hour, you will find that there are many companies who are doing it, and then you will learn more about like this, that what are the advantages, what are some of the things we need to be careful about and all that. Even before I start looking at the article, think about in your own life. Uh, think about your own life when you are competing with someone. Even in your class, you are competing with other people that you gain a better score in some exam. So what is your technique? You might have, maybe you have some strategy for yourself, you have good notes, whatever you have, in order to achieve your objective, your goal. But it is also possible that there are some other smart people in the class just like yourself, who also have some skills which maybe you don't have. Or maybe it can be the case that two people join together and then they say, okay, you read this material and I will read this material, I will share what I learned from this material and you share with me what you learned, and together we will together exchange ideas, and in a short period of time we will be able to learn more. Yeah, but in that, of course, you need to find a partner who has something to maybe offer. You look up to that person, or there has to be something, generally speaking. But then other examples, as we'll go deeper into this article, which is short. We will be able to do it in 1 hour or so. So please reflect on these things, and feel free to make comments as we go and talk about this through opening your voice or through chat, whatever medium is easy for you. So this is written by top professors in their field in top universities. So quite interesting and credible information we will go through in next 1 hours. Rivals are working together more than ever before. Rivals are working together more than ever before, and you might want to reflect on why, taking some hints from what I have already said. Here is how to think through the risks and rewards. So no matter how good the situation of cooperation might be, there are always going to be some risks. What can be those risks? Even without reading the article, you should be thinking about those risks. For example, you will be sharing your knowledge, your expertise with the other party, and if you share, you might fear that if you share your ideas with the other party, then what is your competitive advantage? What do you have to offer? Those type of risks you want to think. But then again, there are rewards. And just a while ago, I gave you example of co-opting with your fellow colleagues. There can be, of course, some rewards in that also. But anyways, I will do guided reading. I'm going to read the article and explain the things and reflect on the things, and you should be also doing the same things. The moon landed just over 50 years ago is remembered as the culmination of a fierce competition between the United States and USSR. So if you look at the history of the world, you will know that Russia used to be, of course, USSR. Now we call it Russia, but there was a tussle between who is the superpower. Or still, Russia is a very big power, but we are talking about 50 years ago. There was quite a fierce competition that who is going to land on the moon first. But in fact, space exploration almost started with cooperation. Yeah, so you want to reflect on that, like space exploration is quite a big project. It is not anything simple. You guys would be familiar, like the costs associated with making the equipment, rockets, shuttles, and also the training which people go through if it is not unmanned type of spacecraft. So that thing, even those type, when the projects are that big, they are of that big of the nature, then many times you will see that even the countries which might say that they are the superpowers, they cannot even do it alone. President Kennedy proposed a joint mission to the moon when he met with his counterpart in 1961, and again when he addressed the United Nations in 1963. It never came to pass, but in 1975, the Cold War rivals began working together on Apollo. Cold War, yeah, that's, you would want to look at the history of that. Like even in those times, when the countries were in quite a tussle with each other, they still decided that okay, let's do it, do it. Let's talk about these things and let's see that if we can do something together. And by 1998, the jointly managed International Space Station had ushered in an era of collaboration. So the point of all this, the how they are introducing is that even the it's trying to break our the way we think, because generally speaking, people when they are competing, they don't want to disclose what they know to their competition because of the fears and anxieties and all of those things which we kind of briefly mentioned, and we will like to go in detail on that. But the how they have placed this intro here, the reason is that even the countries which are like, they are against each other at a very big level, war is going on, and they have other history, their past is not good, secret service and all of those things. uh, Even despite of that, they sometimes, this type of competition also decides that they should collaborate or talk with each other or something on those lines. Today, a number of countries are trying to achieve a presence on the moon, and again, there are calls for them to team up. Yeah. Why? So you really want to go beyond what you will cover in this article in 1 hour. You should be making some notes and thinking very critically. And if you would have seen the first recorded lecture was the how to generate good ideas. I hope you got some things from that recording, and you were thinking on those lines. So here is your time to practically demonstrate at the end of, once we have gone through the article, that you should be thinking that team up, what is happening, why team up. Even the hyper competitive Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk once met to discuss combining their Blue Origin and SpaceX venture. You must be familiar with Elon Musk, Tesla guy, SpaceX, and all of his initiatives. He's maybe thinking that there should be tourists who should take services of SpaceX and take people to the space as a tourism activity and so on. You can read the details about that, and if you are looking in the popular literature, you will find that these guys are not they don't generally or not always would have same type of opinion about various things, but still would maybe meet and discuss what is going on. There is a number for the mix of competition and cooperation, co-opetition. In 1996, when they wrote a book about this phenomenon in business, instances of it were relatively rare. So you would want to think about this, that why they were in the past, they were in, for example, they are giving example 1996, why the book authors are saying that they were relatively rare. Why was that? Yeah, you would want to maybe link it with the second recording which you watched last week, pre-recorded session, globalization, for example. So as maybe I'm just sharing what is coming to my mind. Um, you should think what is coming in your mind. So I am maybe thinking that maybe globalization increased over a period of time. So countries became more dependent on each other. International businesses became more dependent on each other, and maybe because of that, now as we see this idea of co-opetition, which is in simple words is cooperation with between competition. It is becoming more and more like adopted. But you might want to think that how, or you would have to read a little bit more about this, maybe that why it was relatively rare in the beginning and how it got more and more, why it is getting more and more maybe acceptability, and in which situations it would be accepted, and so on. Now the practice is common in a wide range of industries, having been adopted by rivals such as Apple and Samsung. Apple and Samsung. Many people would not maybe even know that because they are competing company. Both of them, for example, sell phones, mobile phones, cellular phones. So why they would go and cooperate, and we will discuss in better detail as we go forward in next 1 hour. DHL and UPS, Ford and GM, Google and Yahoo, some examples. You might want to reflect on them and have your own examples also for some discussion at the end of this article review. There are many reasons for competition to cooperate. Yeah, many reasons. Let's look at maybe them. At the simplest level, it can be a way of saving costs and avoid duplication of efforts. So you don't want to necessarily come with some product, and your competition is also coming with the same type of product, and without knowledge you go with the same product, and then have to spend so much time and energy in marketing and battling the consumer share in the market and all of those things, and many more other things which you might have looked at, for example, in a basic marketing course, or even from the way you look at the world, you must have picked up these type of things. And sometimes on a side note, sometimes companies also spend a lot of money and effort to understand what are the things their competition is coming out with. Like even banks, don't you think that it would be in good interest for example, Scotiabank Jamaica, to know that what type of new offerings NCB is coming with in the coming weeks or months, as we deal with the new climate, COVID climate, and people want to do business online and so on. What are the things they are doing? What are the things they are not doing? So we can maybe work on those things which maybe they are not really focusing on, and so on. So companies do have like some type of insider information if they can get, that is quite useful for them. If a project is too big or too risky for one company to manage, collaboration may be the only option. Maybe. So by the end of the article, we would be more clear, hopefully, on this maybe. In other cases, one party is better at doing A while the other is better at B, and they can trade skills. Do you remember some concept you might have done in introductory economics? If you remember, please tell us. If not, please look for it, and because they are talking about a basic economics principle. And even if one party is better at A and the other has no better B to offer, it may still make sense to share A at the right price. Interesting thing to reflect on. Co-opetition raises strategic questions. However, how will the competitive dynamics in your industry change if you cooperate or you don't? Like, there will be whichever action you take. If you decide to cooperate with your competition, what would be the impact on the industry, on the offering, on how consumers view your product? For example, I gave you something to think about: Scotiabank Jamaica and NCB. So if they start cooperating with each other, then okay, they say, all right, I am focusing on this. This is where I am not really focusing on, and the information is shared. What is the positive? The positive is that both companies would go into different directions of offerings in the field of banking maybe. And then they will hone their skills and put their money and time and efforts in improving that skills which they want to master. What can be the downside? The other bank would not have those skills maybe to the best of in terms of marketing offering in the best shape, because maybe they did not spend that much resources as the competition did. So if they cooperate, yes, there are benefits to that, because any customer in the market, when they want the skill set which Scotiabank has to offer, or the offering or the product service they have to offer, the customer will have no choice but to go to that bank. At least, when I should not say no choice, because there are other banks also, but relatively, because these are the bigger ones. There are other banks also, of course, who are worth mentioning also. But I just, for the sake of easiness, I'm just taking example of two banks. But on the same note, if there were other big banks like Scotiabank and NCB, like 4, 5, 6 banks in Jamaica and running, then this same example would be hard to implement, because then how to distinguish between, like, who will take what and how will be the share divided and so on. Those things can be very interesting to reflect on. Will you be able to safeguard your most valuable assets? Careful analysis is required. In this article, we will provide a practical framework for thinking through the decision to cooperate with rivals. Yeah. So just look at the way you are thinking, because I mentioned something about mindset. So when we just started like 20 minutes ago talking about cooperating with competition, what were the initial thoughts which were there? If I would have asked you at that time that should we cooperate with the competition, what do you think? Just reflect on what you would have said, and try to analyze how your thinking is maybe changing or not changing. Maybe it will not change throughout the course of this guided reading. Just reflect on that. Keep a tab of that also. What is likely to happen if you don't cooperate? This is some question which one should think about. Let's go through that. If a cooperative opportunity is on the table, start by imagining what each party will do if it is not taken. If it is not taken. So competition offers something and you can say no because you don't want to cooperate for basic reasons. But what will happen if you say no? Yeah, many things can happen. For example, one thing which comes straight to mind is that same offer would go to someone else. So you need to now think about this. Are you going to take that offer or let it go? And this is very interesting scenario to reflect on, as even in international business management, because you are globally speaking, you are fighting for market share and so on, and one bad mistake you might have to pay a lot. So you might decide that I'm not going to cooperate or whatever, but what is going to happen? What if we don't take it? What will happen? And that is, this is linked with decision making. This the theory and the science of decision making. Like, you can decide in either way, but whatever you are deciding, you should always think, and this is as a side note, I'm saying this, you should always think in any decision in life, you should always think that what is going to happen if this decision don't work out? What are the bad things which can happen? That you should reflect on. It is called pre-mortem analysis. Pre-mortem analysis. Like, you must have heard about the term post-mortem. So when someone dies, they are not in this world. The doctors are going to do post-mortem, after the death, post They will analyze what happened, what went wrong, and all of those things. So from the same way of thinking, you are thinking about pre-mortem, before the death, before the thing has gone wrong. You think about all the things, possibilities, what can go wrong. What can go wrong? Anything, like this course, what can go wrong in that? So although this is nothing hard in this course, and international business management, very interesting things are there to reflect on. And the things are like they are not just for international business, they are general business management also. So you would want to think about, like, even the course, like what can go wrong. That, and the wrong would be what? Maybe it is that you would fail the course, although hopefully no one is going to fail, but these things happen. Or any other course or anything you are doing. What if you see yourself that you have failed, and then you come back to where you are and you say, okay, what I would have done wrong to fail in anything? Yeah. And then you make some strategy or deliberate that you are whatever actions you are going to take. So this line is, maybe you should reflect on those type of things. What alternative agreements might the other side make, and what alternatives might you pursue? If you don't agree to the deal, will someone else take your place in it? In particular, will the status quo still be an option? Yeah, not doing anything, status quo. That is very interesting thing. Let the things be the way they are. Let the things be the way they are. That is status quo. And it is, although they are saying that in this type of situation, maybe you should do it, maybe you should not do it. That is another maybe for some another time, and in some other article maybe in the future. But status quo is not always bad. Sometimes you are better off that let the things be the way they are, because you make one change in the situation, in the bigger scheme of things, like international business management. You can imagine that how how big the audience is, and scale and scope is. That's why it is only then it is a real international business management, across countries, across continents, throughout the world, and so on, with a good presence in various geographies, across cultures, different languages, and so on. You can imagine how big the scope is, and you must have seen the course outline. You would have seen that the scope is quite big to look at. But sometimes status quo, not doing. And yes, I was saying that you make one small change in the scheme of big things. You make one small change, and it would have impact on various other things. So you have to be very careful when you are making adjustments in big projects, because one, it would have ripple effect. Things are linked with each other. So that is why it is very interesting to think about these things which I mentioned about pre-mortem. Yeah, very interesting things to reflect on. Here is an example. Let's start with a simple example. Honesty, which one of us co-founded, was approached by Safeway supermarkets to make a private label line of organic teas. The new line would undoubtedly eat into Honesty's existing Safeway sales. So even though the supermarket was offering a fair share, the deal would ultimately be unprofitable for Honesty. So you can reflect on this example, what they are trying to do maybe. However, there is always some however, and there is always some but. If Honesty did not cooperate, Safeway would surely find another supplier, such as rival tea maker Tazo. And these are real examples. You can do some research on Tazo and so on, and you will learn interesting things for sure. So what to do in these type of situations? Honest figured that if it took the deal, it would design the new Safeway O Organics line to resemble the flavors and sweetness of the Tazo's products and compete less against its own. So this is one strategy they are using, that okay, let's do O organics resemble the flavor and sweetness of Tazo, and we will compete less against our own product. If Honest had said no, Tazo would probably have said yes and targeted Honest flavors, leading to the worst possible outcome. So Honest agreed to the deal. Yeah. So Honest, one company, they get some offer, they look at it, they see, should we take it, should we not take it? Before taking it, they say that if we don't take it, what will happen? What will happen is that they might go to the rival, which is Tazo. So what would happen then? They would have to analyze that, and then they will decide that what should we do? Should we take the deal? Should we co-opt? Should we go for co-opetition? Or we should just let it be status quo? Or we should maybe think about some other thing? Or maybe we should go with some other competition and form some type of alliance, any form of, maybe, there is an interesting topic in international business: alliances, mergers, acquisition. You can think about those things also, although the article is not directly talking about those things. Yeah. Yet the company turned down a similar request from Whole Foods because the grocery chain insisted that the private line include a clone of Moroccan mint, Honest best-selling tea at the time. Yeah. Honest did not want to compete so directly against itself and believed that its rival would have trouble copying the tea, which indeed turned out to be true. But it could be the case that it would not have come out to be true. Anything can happen. So it is judgment. Judgment. Yeah. Judgment. Here, just like in the last portion, I was talking about reflecting about decision making, and I shared my thoughts on pre-mortem analysis. Now, as I'm reading this, you should be thinking what is coming in your mind. But for me, from this paragraph, what I am taking is the judgment, your judgment about a situation which you have not seen the outcome yet. You are judging something in the future based on the information you have, whatever information you have, whatever data you have collected. Based on that, your past experiences, your board, the type of people you hang out with, all of those things, you're brought up, your culture, all of those things form uh, how you make judgments about different things, different situations, and we all judge different situations differently. Uh, the thing is that and there are different viewpoints on that. For example, if I ask you where good judgment comes from, and I'm asking you this question now, where do you think good judgment comes from? What would be your response? How would you respond to that? Huh? If someone asks you where good judgment comes from, what are you going to say? If you reflect in your own life, your judgment, you think your judgment, the way you judge different situations, it has improved over a period of time, or you are making wrong decisions. Yeah. So for example, Hilton is saying previous experiences, very good, very interesting. What type of experiences you have had in the past, that they help you, they guide you. If you had bad experiences, so how to have, then you are thinking that bad would happen again, generally speaking. But should that be the case for to be successful in business, in management, in generally in life? Maybe not, because you maybe should, although, so this is the dilemma now. These are the dilemmas in business management. Nothing in black and white if you reflect on that. So on one way, a person who had bad experiences would think that this new company is going to maybe do something bad with them, or this new individual, because this is their experience. But maybe that new company or the person or the entity are going to maybe very good to them. But because they have in their mind, they have created some type of thinking that, oh, this it will be bad, it will be something wrong will happen. How to look into that? That is, so judgment. So judgment, for example, if I was listening to some very interesting speaker, and they were saying that good judgment comes from bad judgments. Very interesting. I enjoyed that line. Good judgment, good decisions come from making bad decisions, because you make, as long as of course you are learning from them. I'm not just saying that you just start making bad decisions. Your good judgment comes from, you know, your exposure. The more you get exposed, you will make some mistakes and so on. So very interesting thing to reflect on. Like, you know, you should spend more time on thinking that this is what you should be doing. You know, you should be reading about like how people improve their judgments, because you know that is what life is about. We are always judging someone. You are knowingly or unknowingly, you are judging me. As a matter of fact, before we met, you had already judged me based on the things I posted, based on whatever I was saying, based on even before meeting me. If you had not met me, you had unknowingly, you had judged me in various ways. And even as I'm speaking, you are unconsciously, you are judging me, and you have already made up your mind about me, if I am good or if I'm bad. Most of the times that happens just by looking the first few, sometime in the first few minutes or whatever. Some people say seconds also, but you would have to look at the literature and how it is in different cultures and so on. So we judge very very quickly. So that all judgment is, this is what these type of, like, the competition is there. They are going to make you some offer. You don't know what be in the future. We saw a while ago that big companies like Apple and Samsung, they are cooperating with each other, and we are going to see in detail in the next few pages. uh, so you spend some time in improving your judgments and taking out the biases in your judgments, whatever type of biases they are, be it because of some stereotypes or whatever they are. And then this is another debate that people, like prejudice. There is no prejudice and everyone is equal, and we should not stereotype people, and that is absolutely correct. There should not be any prejudice. We should not stereotype. Everyone is equal. But if you think about it, you guys have your preferences. You like certain characteristics. You like certain, like, even in the if you see, like, you know, anything you see when you are there in the market to buy something. There are different colors. You want to buy chocolate. You are unknowingly, unconsciously, there is research that you go for certain colors in certain type of buying behaviors, where they are placed. So many things are there to think about. But to begin with, I hope you will do, if you are interested, you will do some reading um, on these things and reflect on them. UPS had to think through a similar opportunity when DHL, which had acquired Airborne Express some years earlier and was suffering large losses, asked UPS to fly DHL's packages within the United States. UPS had the scale to make the service efficient, potentially saving DHL 1 billion US dollars a year. That is a lot of money, guys, and was already providing a similar service to the US Postal Service. So the opportunity appeared to be a profitable one that would allow UPS to rent out space on planes it was already flying. So because it was already flying those planes, they said, all right, we will also give you space. And many times this happens because like the Jamaica Post Office. I don't know if you guys use that much, and sometimes you ask people and they will say that maybe the reputation is not good, or they are not comfortable by sending their like packages overseas using maybe Jamaica Post Office, and they want to use maybe FedEx or some other company, which is going to maybe charge them a lot also. So if you look at the prices, Jamaica Post Service they charge very less if you compare for the same package compared to FedEx. I don't know if you have done that experiment, like experience their services or not. I have. Although people would say that, FedEx is better and JPS is not, don't rely on that or whatever. My experience was excellent. As a matter of fact, I was able to change other people's mind based on how I was treated by Jamaica Post Office, and I was able to tell them that use that service instead of FedEx. You will save money because of these arrangements. Like this example is US, but same things happen in various other countries. And then the packages were safely because it is generally the same carriers who are taking maybe the FedEx and maybe the what Jamaica Post Office has to send. Same air carriers. It is going in the same air carriers, and you would have to check. But I highly doubt that FedEx aeroplanes come in Jamaica to take the packages which we want to send through FedEx. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking maybe not. Don't quote me on that, but I'm thinking maybe not. They are using maybe the regular aircrafts and so on. It is not that they have their own aeroplane. Not at least maybe in Jamaica. In other markets they do have. You can do some research on that. That said, not cooperating might have been even more profitable in the long run if DHL's continuing losses led to its exit. UPS stood to gain much of DHL's US market share, but if UPS turned the deal down, DHL might have offered it to FedEx. And this is what you might want to think about in terms of co-opetition. That yes, one company would take the deal or would not take the deal. If they will take, what will happen? They are cooperating with the competition. But if they don't take, then the same company which was giving them the offer, they will go to other company, in this case FedEx. So please reflect on these type of situations. And if FedEx accepted it, DHL would still be in the market and UPS would have lost out on potential profits. So UPS agreed to DHL proposal, announcing a deal in May 2008. In the tech industry, thinking through alternatives to a deal is complicated because companies have multiple relationships with one another. Samsung's decision about whether to sell Apple its new Super Retina Edge-to-Edge OLED screen for the iPhone 10 is a very good, they are saying good example, I would say excellent, phenomenal example of competition cooperating with each other. Samsung and Apple, and they have given this example, Super Retina Edge-to-Edge OLED screen, and that is a big selling point for the phone. And the competition, iPhone has it, iPhone 10, but they are sourcing it from Samsung. It's very interesting that how and why, what is the mentality mindset of Samsung that they are giving or selling. Of course, this is not free, selling their stuff and making iPhones better and better and better. Yeah. Samsung would have temporarily hurt Apple in the high-end smartphone market, where the Samsung Galaxy and iPhone compete by not supplying its industry-leading screen. But Apple is not the only rival has to worry about. This is an interesting line to reflect on. So the companies don't just look at, we might think that Apple and Samsung, yes, they are rivals, but the companies do their market analysis in different markets. So they would find out that, okay, which other companies are there, which can, if we don't take the offer, then the other company which is giving us the offer, they will go to the competition. In addition to being one of the world's largest phone manufacturers, Samsung is also one of the largest supplier to phone manufacturers, including Apple, across several generations, not just iPhone 10, guys, several generations. If it had not provided its Super Retina display to Apple, Apple could have turned to LG. Yeah, they also make, people don't maybe like their phones and they like Apple and Samsung, but I had chance to look at LG phones, they are not bad, quite decent phones they also make, which supplies OLED screen for Google's Pixel 3 phones, and BOE, which supplies AMOLED screens for Huawei Mate 20 Pro phones. Yeah, why again Sometimes people think that maybe they are not very good phones, but excellent phones they make. And just on a side note, I would like to say that if you like Apple, if you go deep, dig deep, why do you like Apple? What is the reason you like Apple? Because Apple, the way Apple has marketed, the way, the type of consumers which Apple attract, the way they have priced their products. A phone which they price at 1,000 Jamaica, 1,000 USD, 1,000 US dollars maybe. Do you think it really cost them 1,000 US dollar? You will be like really shocked if you don't know already that what is the actual price, what cost the company, what is the cost to the company. You would really, it is mind blowing low. Yes. So if you are interested, run some Google searches and you are going to find out. Strengthening one of Samsung screen technology competitors. Plus, Apple is well known for helping its suppliers improve their quality. This again is very very interesting line. Suppliers, like you are trying to help your suppliers. This is now linked with supply chain management. Why you would want to think about this? Why a company would want to help in improving the functions of their suppliers? Supply chain management related discussions, which will come later in the recordings, which you will watch in your own time, of course, uh, in international business management. Because the supplier from which one company is taking, if I am taking something from Jody, who is my supplier, Jody might be giving Jody might be the supplier of Lanique also, and Jody might be supplier of Pink also, and Jody might be supplying to Turner also. I'm just one of the suppliers. So if I'm one of the suppliers, what benefit do I get if I tell Jody that, okay, Jody, come on, these are the areas which you want to improve as a supplier, in terms of improving your quality, in terms of overall so many different things. And this is something which you should reflect on, why a company like Apple is well known for helping its suppliers. Like, the like customer feedback. So I am selling something and Jody is my supplier. Whatever my product is, I'm in international market. You can think about whatever product you want to think about. That's fine. And I get some feedback from my customers, consumers, that once they get the product after 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, 1 year, these are the problems which are coming. Of course, maybe it is not linked. I'm not giving them a warranty after 3 months, but still they might tell me that, okay, we are not asking for warranty claims or anything like that. We are just sharing that, okay, after 6 months this happened and this happened and this happened after 8 months. So that all that knowledge, that thing coming from user, if I share that with Jody, her her functions will improve. But it is not as simple as it looks, because I said that Jody is also supplier of other people like Pink and Lisa and other friends sitting in the session right now. So they might be my competition. Yeah. So this is very interesting thing to reflect on, that why companies would want to look at that. Hilton has made some comments in the chat. Please reflect on them also. Cooperating with Apple meant that Samsung would get this benefit and that its screen technology rivals would not. The fact that the deal would increase Samsung's scale and came with a big check attached, an estimated 110 USD for each iPhone sold. 10 is just going to the company Samsung, ultimately tilted the balance towards cooperating. It takes two to cooperate. Very interesting line. You can't cooperate if the other company decides not to cooperate. Now let's look at the deal from Apple's perspective. Would it make sense? Would it make Samsung a more formidable rival? Very interesting. It would probably. It would probably. So you would want to reflect deep why then they would want to do these type of things. And they mentioned Hawaii and LG a while ago. So um, think as much as you would want to think about this. In the year prior to the iPhone 10 launch, revenue from Apple accounted for almost 30% of the Samsung display business, a division that generated 5 billion in profits. Apple was also buying DRAM and NAND, flash, memory chips, batteries, ceramics, and radio frequency printed circuit boards from Samsung. So it is not just that screen, guys. But for Apple, getting the best screen was worth bankrolling an already well-resourced rival, at least for a while. Yeah. The interesting question would here be that if you are Apple, how you would decide? Do you have that mindset already that you would say, all right, let me compete, let me cooperate with Samsung, who is the rival? You are, for every sale you are giving them 110 USD, and you can now you just have to run some Google searches to find how much units Apple iPhone 10 so was able to sell in different markets. The amount is way big, and if you ask me, my personal point of view is that they are giving more than 110 USD, but at least it is 110. I was asking you guys that what would you do if you were Apple? How would you go about if you were Samsung? If you were into some other business, you had to make these type of decisions. What are the things you would be reflecting on? Those are the things you want to think about even before reading this article. But we should be able to finish it during class time. The underlying economic reasons that working together was advantageous to both sides was that Samsung had the best screen. Yeah, so this is the thing. Samsung has the best screen, and Apple had a loyal customer base. And this loyal customer base is so much loyal. You must have seen when the new iPhone comes, people spend the nights. uh, the nights before the sale opens in the store, and the nights before they come and they are there all the night. You must have seen this on, especially in US. You must have seen, and if you have not, you can check online YouTube videos. So they have really made that association with their brand and so on. Without cooperating, neither company could get the extra value from putting the superior screen on the new iPhone. Will cooperation give away your competitive advantage? That is something which one should really need to think about. Suppose you have analyzed the alternatives to cooperation and tentatively decided to move ahead. Doing so may mean sharing your special sauce. You don't want to share what you know. Yeah, we have spoken about it already. Then it might not be so special, and that could be a real problem. To get a read on the potential risk, figure out which of these four categories the deal falls into. Four categories. So this is the section that this is for you guys when you are making type of decisions. You need to think, will it give my competitive advantage or no? And this is about judgment and decision making and pre-mortem analysis and all the other things which I have mentioned. Neither party has a special sauce at risk, but the parties' combined ingredients create value. Other words we can use is synergies. When one and one combines, it is not two, it is 11. This is how you look at it. One plus one is 2, or 1 plus 1 is 11. Synergies. Yeah. In this scenario, neither side is giving anything away. A recent example is Apple and Google's decision to cooperate in creating, this is very interesting example, contact tracing technology for COVID-19, and you can read the details online. I don't want to discuss COVID related examples because you guys know these things that come all the time in the social media and so on. By sharing user location data across platforms, the two companies enabled governments and others to create effective notification apps. Yeah, very interesting example. The circumstances here are exceptional, but it's not unusual for rivals to team up to set standards and create interoperability protocols and thereby create a bigger pie they can later fight for. This is very interesting, creating bigger pie. And if you in many times you would have to think about negotiations in international business, because that is what it is all about. You have something to offer, you have other parties, you negotiate for the best price, best products, best region, best people. That's all about. So bigger pie, but they are. You want to ensure that it's a win-win type of situation. You want to create. You want to create bigger pie for the other party also. When you do some good course in negotiation, you can learn more about this. But this is what makes me a little bit smile, that they can later fight over. So they're going to cooperate, and but later on, once in the free market, they might have to fight again. So for the market share, so you need to think about these things. Second can be, that was one. Second can be both parties have a special sauce, and sharing puts them both ahead of their common rivals. In 2013, Ford and GM agreed to share transmission technologies. This made sense because they had complementary capabilities. Ford led to 10-speed transmission, GM in 9-speed. So this type of situation might help them to cooperate with each other, because they are dealing with different product type, product feature, which they would want to offer in the as transmission, 10-speed versus 9-speed. The arrangement saved both money, had no significant strategic impact, and freed their engineers to work on next generation electric vehicles. Yeah, they are talking about 2013, and you must be familiar that, countries, companies, there is no major company right now, automotive, which has either already made an electric car, or it is working day and night to make an electric car. There is no big major automotive company in my knowledge. If you know about some company which is big and they are not working on or have not worked on electric vehicles, please do email me. I would like to know which company is that, giving each company a leg up on other automakers. Yeah, so this is very interesting. So if they collaborate, GM and Ford, 10-speed, 9-speed, yeah, and the engineers have time to work on more pressing affairs. Yeah, otherwise they might not get that on maybe electric vehicles way back then, 2013. It has been, time flies, it has been 8 years. There is a caveat here. Pay attention to this. Cooperation is more challenging if the playing field is not level at the start. There should be that you need something from the other party and they need something for you. That's level playing field. GM turned down an opportunity to collaborate with Ford on a next generation diesel engine for Super Duty pickup trucks. Though the potential cost savings were compelling, Ford already had a competitive advantage in the F-150 lightweight all aluminum body, and GM feared that without differentiation between engines, Ford would have an unbeatable edge. So when they found that Ford would have an unbeatable edge because of this scenario, they decided not to cooperate. So again, this is judgment. Yeah. Sometimes getting ahead of or not falling behind other rivals outweighs consideration of relative advantage. Autonomous driving technology, for instance, will be a key capability in the near future. Yes. Most automakers recognize that they won't be able to develop self-driving vehicles quickly or cost-effectively alone. That's why Ford invited Volkswagen to join its investment in Argo AI. This you should run a search on the company and know a little bit more about Argo AI, please. An autonomous vehicle startup, Volkswagen's 2.6 billion investment along with its 500 million purchase of Ford share of the startup greatly reduced the drain on Ford's resources. So the Volkswagen is coming up with this type of investment, and then they also have some stakes in the Ford. So then the Ford said, all right, we can maybe work on this one. So in some situations, those same companies might not want to cooperate with the competition, but when the company says no to the cooperation, no does not mean that it is a no for the lifetime. You have to, in business management, is no nothing permanent. That life is dynamic. You make one decision now. You have to, if you think, yeah, what is the goal? The goal is the thing. The goal is the prosperity, profitability of the company, to please the customers and so on. So you have to make those type of situations, and many times you would have to. For me and you, it can be maybe embarrassing moment that we have said something and then we have to backtrack. But that mindset, please remember that the reason I am doing this is the mindset. I need to make some dent in the way you are thinking about these things. That is the purpose of this live interaction. So that you need to please reflect on that. The deals also plays to each party's respective strength in getting regulatory approvals. Ford is strong in US, Volkswagen in Europe, significantly increase the chance that Argo AI will be one of the platforms that gets worldwide approval. Ford also believed that if it did not work with Volkswagen, Volkswagen would find another partner. You might want to think about if they might find another partner, which would decrease the chance that Argo AI would become one of the approved standards. Because Ford's market share is greater than Volkswagen in the United States and VW is ahead of Ford in Europe, it was a good bet that this partnership would not change the balance of power between them. The focus was on elevating the pair relative to their market rivals. Yeah, so this was number two. Let's look at the third situation you might want to consider. One party has a strong competitive advantage and sharing only heightens it. Even so, less powerful parties are willing to cooperate. This is very interesting example, and I'm sure you know about all this already, but maybe did not think about it in this way. But let's go through this very quickly. Amazon gives rival sellers on Amazon Marketplace access to its customers and warehouses. Why? Take a moment to reflect on it before we go further. Amazon gives rival sellers on Amazon Marketplace access to its customers and warehouses. Why? Why? For starters, while it loses some direct business and the associated markup, it makes a commission on marketplace sales. The net effect on profit depends on how the commission compares with the markup and whether Amazon Marketplace, which accounts for 50 billion of company's revenue USD, leads to an increase in the company's total volume, even if the net effect were negative. Blocking rival sellers from its platform would push them to other sites that could compete with Amazon, and maybe that is why Amazon said that, okay, no problem, you want to sell your own products, please come, our site is available. More important though, when Amazon shares its platform, it becomes a hub, the starting place for any search. It makes money when a person looking for a book or a computer cable comes to its site and purchases additional higher margin products like electronics or clothing. Amazon also learns about the customer's preference and can use this data to offer better recommendations and more accurately identifying which Amazon branded products to offer. I would like you to pay attention to this data, information, numbers. Yeah, that is the key thing on which Amazon and these companies are making good money in international markets. Please also reflect on the case of Facebook in last few years, where there were some data breaches and so on. You can run some Google searches and see what were the consequences and so on. And finally, opening up Amazon Marketplace allows Amazon to operate more warehouses and increase shipping volume, thereby reducing shipping times and lowering overall cost. But why do other merchants cooperate with Amazon? So first we were saying that why Amazon gives rival sellers on Amazon Marketplace access to its customer and warehouse, why they are doing. And we spent some time maybe reflecting on that. Of course, there are many other things which you can add. And then they are reflecting on other things like why do other merchants cooperate with Amazon? Because we've said that cooperation, from if both sides don't agree, it is not going to happen. Each partner acting individually finds it more profitable, even necessary, to be part of the Amazon ecosystem. But it's a collective action problem. When the merchants all join its platform, they make Amazon a more formidable rival. Indeed, both the European Commission and the US House subcommittees on antitrust, you might want to read about antitrust laws, for example, in US and all of those things. Run a Google search as I'm speaking about it on your computer. We will talk a little bit about it at the end of the session. Commercial and administrative law are investigating whether Amazon Marketplace is using its dominant position to undermine and compete unfairly with its merchant partners. And I don't know if I should say it, but Amazon is maybe not, I should not say it, but let me say it, that they're not as much, they're not the best ethical. If you are talking about best ethical companies in the world, maybe Amazon is not one company to really talk about. Although big respect to Amazon, what they were able to achieve, and big respect to Honorable Jeff Bezos. I can become the richest man in the world in 30, 40 years is not something which many people have have been able to do it. So of course he knows what he's uh, talking about. So I should maybe refrain from making any bad comment about the company. But you can run a search. Amazon is ethical or not? Just type it in Google, see where it takes you. Type it in YouTube, see where it takes you. Read a little bit about that. One party shares its secret sauce to reach another's customer base, even though doing so carries risk and both parties. And that is what the title of this article was talking about: risks and reward. And this is the fourth and the last scenario. We saw this dynamic when Samsung shared its high-end screen with Apple. Google and Yahoo provide another example. Google is better than any of its rivals at turning ads that appear alongside searches into clicks. That's its secret sauce. I'm sure you are aware about this, because whenever we are on social websites, these ads keep on coming again and again, and that is why people are able to also generate money if they become famous. Their postings become famous online because ads are running there, and they are creating revenue for the parent company and also for the people who are posting the content. In 2008, it agreed to do ad placement for Yahoo. Google's technology would generate substantially more revenue per search for Yahoo, and sharing it was the quickest, surest way to extend its value to the market Google did not already have. In the run, very interesting. In the short run, Google was unlikely to capture all of Yahoo's customers. By 2020, Yahoo's share of search was down to 1.6%, but that decline took a dozen years. Yeah, so you can say that in hindsight Google was able to make good judgment, but it could be other way also. It could be the case where Yahoo is very big, just like we we look at Google. Like when I asked you to run some search, I'm saying just run a Google search. I'm not even saying search. I'm like specifying just a Google search. Although you know that there are so many other places where you can search, but Google it. It's a word now. I don't quote me on this, but I think it might be in the English dictionary also. Google it. It might have a meaning to it also. You can check and maybe let me know later if it is or it is not. The potential gains were enormous given Yahoo's then 17% share of the 9 billion market. A 50 to 60% revenue increase would create almost 1 billion in annual reports profits to be split between the two companies. Very interesting, very interesting. But it is, no one really knows how the judgment will come out in the end. The deal did carry some risks for Google. You want to reflect on the risks, please? It might have made Yahoo into a stronger competitor, but that possibility was less worrisome because Yahoo was already cash rich owing to its stake in Alibaba. If you are not familiar with the company Alibaba and their CEO, can anyone tell who is the CEO of Alibaba? All of you should know. More cash probably was not material its competitive position. Improved ad technology on Yahoo might have led some Google users to switch, but it seemed unlikely that better ads would cause a large number to do so. Perhaps the greater risk was that Yahoo would learn the recipe for Google's special sauce, but Google never planned to hand over its algorithm. So this is type you can call it their strategy, that they are cooperating, but they know that how much we will cooperate and we are not going to share the algorithm with them. The risks for Yahoo were bigger and more risk. In hindsight, you might think, oh, maybe they should not have done it, but this is how the international business is. Its capabilities might wither if it became dependent on Google's black box. Were the partnership to end, Yahoo would be further behind, perhaps dangerously so. These risks were mitigated by Yahoo's plan to continue doing ad placement for its sites in Europe and thus maintain its own capabilities. In the end, the deal did not materialize. This is very interesting. Yeah, in the end, the deal did not materialize. The US Department of Justice ruled against it on the ground that it might leave Yahoo a weaker competitor in the future. One of us helped defend the agreement, but the economics were compelling. 1 year later, Yahoo made a deal with Microsoft to have Bing provide its search ads. How many of you use Bing? This is also a search engine. Yeah, you should know who owns it and what is going on. That is good knowledge to have, and maybe read about these competitions. Google, most people use Google, but of course there is competition. Like there are other companies which offer whatever they have to offer as a search engine. It is not always possible to rent the sauce without giving away the recipe. However, could the United States and China, for instance, cooperate on a mission to Mars? Is a good, very interesting question to reflect on, and you should know what is happening in. You should know the relationships between US and China and the war, the competition, like war not in the sense of the real war, but the war, the tussle which goes on between these companies and China. Many people think that China is going to be the next superpower and all of that. They have come a far way if you look at that. But of course, they have their challenges also. Big challenges is that it would involve sharing intellectual property that cannot be recaptured. Intellectual property rights, you might want to run some searches on that. This is a particularly sensitive issue since space technology spills over to military application. Yeah, very interesting. How to structure an agreement. So you looked at some situations, and now when you are going to say, all right, let me cooperate, how are you going to decide, like, if I should or I should not? What are the things you might be thinking about? The parties have almost gotten to yes. They have identified a desirable opportunity and find a way to share their special sauce without giving away the recipe. Now, what are the things they should be doing. So they should be looking at the scope of the deal, number one, please make note of that, and how the costs and benefits will be divided. That is again very interesting thing to reflect on. So I'm sure you must have been thinking about some things, how they should structure the agreement, what are the, in simple words, what are the things companies should keep in mind as they decide to cooperate with their competition, in simple words. I hope you are making your notes on the things which you were thinking about, and at the end of the article you will share your thoughts also with everyone. Establishing scope and control, that is something which is very very interesting to look at and think about. So for example, you look at here is some example, you can go through it in your own time, please. CBS and Netflix and honesty, we spoke about honesty example a while ago. Agreements become challenging when one party has a seed control. What is seed control? They are unwilling. They are not willing to give control, but they have to give control unwillingly. That is what they maybe mean. Ford and GM's plan to share transmission technologies worked well at the research and development stage, but neither company was willing to give control of manufacturing to the other, or even to a joint entity. And this was essentially the problem. Uh, Very interesting. Let's scan through this. Ford and GM could have written a contingent contract about who got what transmission production capacity when, but this would have been tricky since demand is variable and transmissions are mission critical. Fortunately, the majority of cost savings come from using common designs and common parts, so Ford and GM limited the agreement to these areas. Again, why? Because using common design, common parts, there is nothing like, it's not a like secret type of thing. So they made some evaluation on that. uh, it is important to structure any agreement in such a way, and you want to think about this because we are thinking what are the things one should keep in mind in these type of situations, uh, in such a way that one side does not become dependent on the other. Otherwise, the dependent party may be backed into a corner when it comes time to renegotiate the deal, or distressed when the deal ends. As noted earlier, this was one of the Justice Department issue with the 2008 Google Yahoo deal. And when you will read about antitrust and those type of issues, you might want to maybe run some searches and read the details behind 2008 Google Yahoo deal. Dividing the pie. So first is establishing scope and control, then dividing the pie. And I made some comments on a pie that you should think that you should try to make the pie bigger for the companies. In this section, let me just give you a brief of this section. In this section, you will see that there are, for example, different airlines, and when one airline has some problem and they have to send their passengers to the destination, they sometimes seek help from the competition. So for example, in the following section of dividing the pie, they are talking about Delta Airlines and American Airlines. So when one airline would have some problem with their aircraft, but they have to reach to a certain destination, and the competition is going to that destination, the competitions will give the seats to the competition's passengers at a lower cost. So this was the type of arrangement. This helps because even if you are competing, you are Delta and I am American Airline, you are taking my passengers, and then I will be taking your passengers also. So when you are in some trouble, I will help you, and when I am in some trouble, you will help me. And then they will explain that how they were able to decide what should be the agreement, like what was the issues they had and how they solved them. Yeah. Not Don't feel like going through this because you should also read some things in your own time also, but I do want to highlight this section. This is very interesting, and I mentioned it a while ago, but did not give an example. So here is the example. The challenges are greater when there are 3 or more parties to the deal and offsetting trades are not possible. Take Ionity, a joint venture involving BMW, Daimler, Ford, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, which is building ultra-fast electric charging stations across Europe. So now this is very interesting because the speed and cost saving advantage from teaming up are enormous, but then again there are so many problems, because think about these companies. They have different type of offerings, they have different type of clientele. All of those things are very different, and even their like the money, the type of how rich the one company is, they are all also very different. So when they will be now negotiating, it will be quite interesting to see how they do about it. Is they have added just a small section for them, just this here, which you can read, but I encourage you to read a little bit more in detail how they went about this. Maybe look at some YouTube clips, run some search, and try to know these things in your own time if you want to be good in these type of matters. And these are the real practical issues which you will be solving or thinking about in international business management. Even if you don't go in international business management, it is essentially negotiations, and we are negotiating all the time in our life. So between two partners, two people, when the negotiation is, it is relatively easy to understand. But this is example is really mind blowing. BMW, Daimler, Ford, Hyundai, Kia, VW trying to do something, and now they will be, now this example is building ultra fast electric charging stations across Europe. So where exactly, Europe is not a country, it is a continent. So many countries are in there. So where exactly in Europe? So BMW would want to build in the countries where there are more BMWs, and it is a BMW country. On the other hand, Kia would want to go in the neighborhoods where it is a Kia neighborhood. The price tag is more relevant for those people. They can more afford, if I can say that. The affordability is more towards Kia than BMW, and so on. So how they would have decided, yeah. You should please read that. And ultimately, and this was the objective of deciding to do this article, fascinating article by Harvard Business Review, published in February 2021, is changing minds, the way we think about these things, the way you guys think about, should I cooperate with my competition? And you all have some type of competition in your life. You will always have, when you will be at work, you will have some type of competition. There will be other people who will be competing for the promotion. How would you think about that competition? Are you going to think about cooperation between competition? What are the things you need to think about when you are cooperating with competition? Those are the things which are highlighted in changing my mindset. And I definitely encourage you that you spend some time reflecting on this, that what is the mindset behind that. They have given very interesting examples here. You will enjoy it definitely. Here is the section where they are talking about Apple, they are talking about Bill Gates, although Honorable Bill Gates is in news for different reasons nowadays, but that is part of life maybe. Microsoft, very interesting example. So please go through this. They are also giving other examples of how various international issues changed the mindset in that time. They are giving some other example of bankers and US Fed, how 9/11 forced the issue and changed so many things. And you would agree that like just COVID made changes in so many things which we go through. Same way 9/11 was also a major event which changed the way things happen. it is also possible to work around mindset. As you read this article, I want you to reflect on this. Like, what do they read? How to you have one mindset? How to work around mindset? Yeah. Um, very interesting, and they are, let's go through it quickly. One solution is compartmentalization, both mental and actual. Learn about this technique. uh, this is the same thing which I was trying to talk about, like when one friend mentioned that past experiences are the things which shape us, and uh, this is how we judge other situations, if similar type of situations in our life. But what is the right way to make judgments in that regard? Uh, that would uh, that would be important to think about. Go through it. Not a difficult article to read. You could read it in your own time if you have. I would have posted, but I said no problem. Let me do the live sessions, and we should look at some articles together and maybe exchange some ideas and so on. And I'm not also sure if I will just post the article, how many of you will really read, but if I'm going through it, maybe hopefully you would be able to think about. Last sections are always important, so let's go through that. Ultimately, getting the right mindset requires choosing the right people. The executives we interviewed emphasized the need to staff the cooperating teams with people who are open to the dual mindset of coopetition. Dual mindset. That is not always easy because people tend to think in either or terms. Yeah, so you have to now reflect on this. Are you one of those people who this either or you work in gray shades? How you behave in different situations, as in either compete or cooperate rather than compete and cooperate. And this is the mindset I wanted you to maybe reflect on. I don't expect that all of you will just change your mindset and it was before it was competition or it was cooperation and now you will become compete and cooperate. No, that is not what I am seeking. All I am seeking is some time of yours in reflecting all of these things which we are trying, and then after that you make the decision, like in which situations you want to cooperate and which situations you want to compete. And are you are the best person to make the decisions if you are better off when you will compete and cooperate. But then again, it takes the other person to compete, cooperate with you, and the other person should also have something to offer, and all of those things. Doing both at once requires mental flexibility. It does not come naturally. But if you develop that flexibility and give the risks and rewards careful consideration, you may well gain an edge over those stuck thinking only about competition. Yeah. So let's look at the conclusion. We began this article with the missed opportunity for cooperation between the US and USSR on a mission to the moon. Today, the opportunities for countries to cooperate are even larger, from tackling COVID-19 and climate change to resolving trade wars. Please reflect on this. This climate change is a serious thing, and just like COVID-19, climate change has no boundaries. It is going to impact all the world, and CO2 emissions and all of these things. Jamaica trying to start, for example, using paper bags and cutting on plastics, and this is just some of the few steps, but many other things needs to be done, of course. We hope that a better understanding of co-opetition will help businesses, managers, and countries find a better way to work and succeed together. I said that would like to showcase something on antitrust. I think that they have a section somewhere here. Uh, what about antitrust issues? Please pay attention to this. But not just this, you would, I have shared some of the thoughts which I could on the article, but there are, I could go on and on. It is not like it's You can go as deep as you want on these type of articles, because you need to think about your other readings. So as I encourage you that please go through this article and reflect on these things what I said, and reflect on the things which you are also, I'm sure, thinking about, and link it with other courses, other things which you have learned in other courses. You must have learned things in for example, you must have read in economics. Yeah, many things are coming from economics in this reading. In strategy you must have think, marketing, you must have culture, what would happen to the culture if two companies start cooperation between competition. Apple has different culture, Samsung has different culture. When these two companies are cooperating with each other, what happens to the culture? How do they decide that how much to, you know, cooperate with each other and so on. So I think that is a decent review of this fascinating article. I hope this will give you some things to reflect on. Thank you very much.